3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Process Podcast. My name is Ed Haynes. I'm hosting today's episode and with me in the studio is Patrick James. Hello Patrick.
Very formal. Hello Ed.
Very formal. Well, it's formal because Patrick, this is the second ever Process Podcast.
That's correct.
We have recently rebranded, which was the last episode. So just a bit of an update for you listeners out there. A couple of things you're going to see very soon, if not already. The current Instagram page, the current Facebook page, and the current YouTube page of the Live Perform podcast is going to be going to sleep, and we'll be shifting everything over to the process programming. So in the future, all social media content regarding the podcast will be on the process programming Instagram page, Facebook page, and YouTube page. We are essentially just kind of collaborating, putting everything together, because we have loads and loads of really big things in the pipeline for the process programming, and we thought it makes a little bit more sense to kind of have everything in one home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Paddy.
Including the YouTube as well. So we're going to be doing the same with the YouTube. So we have a Live Perform Compete YouTube, and we have the Process YouTube. We're going to be combining those together. So then, we plan to have things like little clips of the podcast as well, as well as full episodes all on the process programming.
Let's actually just talk about that, because maybe we have some listeners out there who have some advice for us and who might even want to help us in this next transition. Our goal is to essentially lift the quality of the podcast in every way, shape or form. The dream is, and this dream is going to happen in 2022, is that we're going to build a podcast or a media studio at Coastal Fitness. It's not going to be a Joe Rogan dungeon, but the idea, listeners, you can probably wrap your head around it. It's going to be a nice looking, aesthetically pleasing studio. It's going to be soundproof. We're going to have proper mic setup. It's going to be a comfortable environment where
cameras set up, good cameras.
Myself and Paddy can stare into each other's eyes, distraction free, and hopefully have guests in there as well. We have a fantastic media content creator who's just joined our team. We want to be creating high quality video content for each episode. So rather than this iPhone, which kind of picks up the dregs of our conversation, it's a nice iPhone, Paddy. We want to get some high quality camera equipment, multiple angles, so you can see our faces at all times. So that's the dream. We will eventually move there. Right now we get probably between, depending on who the guest is, 13 to 10,000 downloads on an episode on YouTube. I think Sarah Sigmund's daughter is our most listened to ever podcast. I think we had over 10,000 views on one of her videos. But myself and yourself, Paddy, we probably get between 10 to 20 on average over a 3-month period. So hopefully we can drive that stuff up. And as you just said, we want to extract some of the best clips, informative clips, humor, banter, something that you guys can take away. We're going to start to create clips and kind of share that midweek as well. So those are all big things we have in the pipeline. If you're listening, you think that's cool, you like the direction of where we're going, please just let us know, drop us a message. If you have any advice for us, things that you think we could do better, this is the end of the year, it's a great time for us to kind of put our heads together and think about how we can make 2022 an even better year than 2021. Just a reminder to you guys, give us some feedback, please, would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I think two things going off that. One, had a conversation with a member recently about how he finds sometimes podcasts in long form quite laborious in terms of how it takes a while to get to a point. And I was arguing that's the reason why people listen to podcasts, because they enjoy the more conversational format. But by us then having those clips, 5-minute, 3-minute, 8-minute clips of us talking about how to maximize muscle, maintaining muscle one and deficit, something clickbaity, catchy like that,
to the point,
something to the point, but it's within a conversational format. You can get that kind of like fix of you're getting all the information you need about that specific topic without having to trail through an hour and 20 minutes of a podcast, which I can understand some people don't feel like they have time for, whatever. So that's a good thing to do. And just going off on the feedback stuff as well. Tell us what you enjoy in terms of types of episodes that you listen to. Like, I know that a lot of the people that have reached out to me prefer us to have more of the casual conversations, where we're just catching up and we're talking about lots of random topics all in one episode, and it's less educational, it's more like opinions and experiences versus other people that I know kind of that go down the podcast route to be educated and informed about a specific topic. So it'd be cool to hear from the feedback from everyone else what they prefer.
But the podcast that you listen to outside of course, listening to your own voice on the Process podcast, what type of podcast do you find yourself? What do you tend to listen to? Are you chasing education stuff or more just casual conversation?
Yes, it used to be. It was when I first started listening to podcasts. It was all education. That's like if I didn't feel like I needed to make notes in a podcast, I was like waste of time. But now it's the complete opposite. I actually don't. I feel like I do enough learning and reading and educational content and stuff, information coming in myself. I don't feel like I need to have any more of that. And to be honest, like a lot of the time, I like to listen to podcasts now to relax. And if I'm like walking home or something, I've had 6, 7, sometimes 8 hours of coaching in a day. My brain's pretty fried. I just want to listen to a couple of people have a chat or like listen to some chilled music as opposed to like, cool, right, I need to know about glycogen depletion or something like that. Like, I'd rather not. So I found myself in the last few months anyway, leaning towards more just two people having a conversation that have good chemistry, bit of banter, that kind of stuff. But that's me. What about you?
I still think I still predominantly use podcasts as a means for learning and education. I think the topics that I chase now are very, very different to what I was chasing probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I typically don't go to podcasts anymore for ideas and education around strength and conditioning, nutrition. I did a lot. I kind of been through, I think, periods or phases where I biased the subject. And now I think a lot of the podcasts I listen to around, I guess, like spirituality, self-improvement, self-questioning, that kind of stuff is what I'm really enjoying. And I do enjoy the conversation format as well, versus like an audio book, although I'm doing a lot of audio books as well. I've never really got into the conversation type. And I know when we first started podcasting together, our podcast kind of went a little bit more down the conversation route versus, I think when I first set out the Process podcast, I was very much thinking, how can I provide value, how can I provide education? But what I love about the conversation route is that it's a lot less stressful as a podcast host. It's just me and you having a chat like we chat every day. But I think there's always, pearls of wisdom and education tied into the conversation anyway. And something we're doing right now is we're creating educational material for coaches, right? So we're creating a group coaching course and an individual coaching course. And the way that we're actually creating that content is doing it like it's a conversation, almost like it's a live podcast, and not just being so theory based, standing around a whiteboard or a blackboard and just going through theory. It's more, okay, here's the theory, let's have a conversation about it, and like, what have you found over the years, what's worked, what's not worked, things to think about. And it's a much more enjoyable way for me to actually share education and lessons as well. So yeah, I like both.
Yeah, it's funny actually when you kind of look on, I guess reflect really, and you kind of take a step back, and it's like when you look at someone else's YouTube feed, you're like, oh, that's weird. Like, you like watching that? You can see trends of where someone favors watching certain topics or certain tags or whatever. And it's the same when you look at people's podcasts. And I kind of did that myself, and I was like, what do I actually, let's see what these podcasts are about. Honestly, it was all nutrition, pretty much. Like, I really just enjoyed learning about nutrition. I was really passionate about it, and obviously still am. And that was what I really thought that I could gain the most knowledge from in a format. I guess maybe I felt naively that I thought I knew a lot about strength training and hypertrophy, so much so that I didn't really need to go and educate myself on it, but I wanted to be more educated on nutrition, so it was just powering through as much nutrition as I could.
Speaking of which, how cool has it been seeing everyone posting their most listened to podcasts on Spotify?
Yes.
And how we've been getting tagged in
top fives regularly.
Yeah. So I wanted to say thank you everyone who's actually taken the time to share that top 5. It really means a lot. I know we have a cool website which tells us how many people listen to our podcast and where in the world you guys are listening to, but it means a lot when someone reaches out to share how the podcast has impacted them, what they liked about it, even just any feedback and how we can improve. And just for everyone who took the time to share that little top 5, and to sometimes see Mr. Joe Rogan below us on the podium spot was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So just thank you everyone. Of course, thank you everyone for listening. If you've only listened to one episode or you listened to all the episodes, it means a lot. But to also go out your way and to share that, how the podcast has benefited you or what you like about it, also means a lot. So thank you everyone.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I posted about the other day, is the conversations that it has created for me, obviously in here, but also, you know, on the floor with members and people on Instagram and stuff like that. It's just so cool to be like, oh, this really resonated with me, what you said, and then a conversation has started from that. Like, it's awesome to know that there are people that are listening to the conversation and taking something out of it. And like, that's at the end of the day, I was talking about last week, you know, with like the Monday gratitude post. It's like, I would love for that little post or that story, whatever, to have an impact on someone positively, to make them think, oh, maybe you know, whatever. So like, it kind of reaffirms to us that we're doing the right thing by reaching out to the right people. So
yeah, awesome. Okay, well Patrick, let's get on to, we've had a bit of a chin wag. I still haven't really asked you how your day's been. Have you had a good day?
Yes.
Yeah. Just before this episode, we were both a little bit fatigued, so we decided to have half a muffin with some blue jam on.
English muffin.
And we both have a renewed sense of strength and energy right now, ready to crush a podcast.
It's been my go-to this week actually. Been reaching for it. Just does get to this time, because usually it's kind of like, it'd be like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, where I might not have any clients, and it'll be time to like maybe sit down, do a little bit of programming, go outside, get a bit more sunshine before I usually work, you know, like 4, 5, 6 or 5, 6, or, you know. So, and I don't want to have another meal because I want to save backlogs and cows for dinner. So, but I need a hit of carbs or something, and I don't want to have chocolate bar, which has been in the past something that I've been going to.
Pretty sure the last 2 days I've seen you reaching for the chocolate jar again.
Chocolate jar.
The jar, yeah, because the jar is changing every day, but your hand is going in it, and when it comes out, there's chocolate in it.
I had a couple of picnic bites.
And
what else did I have?
What about those things that sprinkled on top?
Freckles, yeah. I forget about them. I just grate a lot. This is why I'll never be super shredded. I just love picking away.
But your goal last month was to not have any chocolate in the office. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you said, so just those who are listening, as a team at the start of every single month, the first team meeting that we have, we always have a team meeting on a Monday, we go through goal setting. So every member of the team, staff and coaches, we firstly review what their goal was last month and whether or not they achieved it, and then what is their goal for the next month. More often than not, I would say probably 50-50, we complete our goals versus failing our goals. But your goal last month was to not eat chocolate. One of the goals was to not eat chocolate in the office, and you passed that successfully.
Yeah.
But now, of course, it's December, and I feel like
dangerous.
That is no longer a goal for you anymore, and you've reverted back to eating as much chocolate in the office as you want. Is that true?
No, listen.
Maybe a slight exaggeration.
Listen, it's Christmas time. I love Christmas time.
Yeah.
It also means that there's a lot of snacks kicking around, like hampers, people bringing boxes of quality streets, and you know,
life's for living.
Exactly. Literally, I was about to say YOLO. But that is my thought. I'd be like, when I look back on life, will I think about, oh no, those 3 curly whirlies I ate in the office, or will that short-term happiness bring me happiness?
But that's because you are just very content with you being Patrick, I think, right now. And those little things don't faze you anymore, do they?
That's true.
There has been a point in time where they probably would have, though.
Yeah, true.
We'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah.
What's your goal this month?
It's to carry on with my headspace streak.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, in the last maybe 2-3 months, I have still been doing meditation, but I haven't been as regimented with it. And I'm on about 27 day streak at the moment, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm also doing more, like when I've got a bit of free time and I'm not outside with someone else, I'll be like, do a quick 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just like, it just makes me feel good. I feel relaxed. It brings me back into the right frame of mind, chills me out, but also it's kind of like that. I did something that helped me today. It's a bit like,
It's almost like you're also working on your mental health by doing it. Like just like we step inside the gym and we train for 90 minutes, like that is you working on your mental health, just like a gratitude journal. It's just like journaling. It's important.
Yeah, I was literally having a conversation with a client today about how he should start meditation. Like he's the right character to, implement it. He does think relatively deeply about how he approaches life and how he's feeling. He's relatively open. I think he would benefit a lot from it, and we're just having that conversation. And it made me reflect on. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but it's made me reflect in that session about how much awareness it has brought to me on emotions, in terms of you're much quicker to sense when you're frustrated, angry, emotional, etc. And you're then quicker at responding to that emotion with a rational approach, right? Like, I'm feeling angry, I'm not going to lean into that anger, I'm going to observe it and then just let it brush it aside. And that's a skill that takes years and years and years, and I'm still very early into that process, but there's an improvement from when I started, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, I massively agree.
Cool.
My goal for this month is last month was that I didn't want to be on any screens during lunchtime. So I always bring lunch in, or have lunch delivered to me in the gym, and I would normally find myself either working or maybe scrolling mindlessly through Instagram or watching Brody Moss on YBS doing some fishing in Australia. That's one of my go-tos on YouTube, as it is yours.
Yes.
So I set the goal. Actually, I was influenced by our accountant, CK. He set the goal first. He said this month he doesn't want to be on a screen during dinner. And I said, that's a really cool goal. I'm going to do the same, but in for the lunch hour in the gym. And I loved it. Like, I got to know our two apprentices, Andrew and Karan, so much in the last month, just because we always have lunch together and I was off my phone. How much more conversation and how much more bonding I had with the people in the office at the time was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's something that I definitely want to keep moving forward. So goal this month is to continue with no screens during lunchtime, but also no screens during breakfast, which I got into a bit of a bad habit of kind of just scrolling and checking emails and doing things I probably shouldn't be doing first thing in the morning, and no phone on the shitter. And wow, I had a poo in 2 minutes this morning, in and out. That would normally be 10 to 12 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, and 2 very numb hamstrings. Didn't have any of it. Unbelievable how productive I was this morning.
Is that your only, just that one thing is your only goal? Have you got a second one?
No, just it's all about screen time this month.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And I'm sticking to it so far, and I'm loving it. The goal really, with a lot of my goal setting that we do in our teams, is all about habit formation. And so sometimes it's easy to pick a goal one month, be successful on it, and just skip to the next goal, the next thing. And what happens is you kind of half cultivate a habit, you change your goal, and you drop your last habit, so it never actually becomes a habit. So I'm aware of that, having looked back at a lot of the goals this year that I tried to set myself, didn't actually persevere enough to actually allow the habit to form. And I see the validity in these things being things I do all the time, so I want to just try and stick with it, maybe even do another month after this, till like it's not something I do really ever again.
Every other month, I'd say, you had that Instagram goal.
Yeah.
I've also got 90 minutes of educational reading
Nice.
a week, which isn't a lot. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but
Quite
actually
a lot.
it's a lot.
Okay, well let's get on to what I wanted to talk to you about today, but also our listeners, because the date today that we're releasing this episode is the 20th of December. We are fast approaching holiday season. Holiday season meaning we have Christmas, we have New Year's, we have whatever it is that you celebrate in your religion or your country coming up. What's often associated with that is lots of celebration. With celebrations may become things like alcoholic beverages or other recreational consumables. We have time away from work most times. We have time with family, friends and loved ones. And that poses lots of joys and comforts, but it also poses to a lot of people lots of challenges. And so what I wanted to talk to you about, Patrick, and of course if you want to talk to me about the same questions, feel free to do so. But what is your holiday period going to look like? So that's my first question. What are you doing for the holidays?
So I'm intending on going back to the UK.
Intending because
flights are looking rubbish, but I mean the flight's been booked, quarantine hotel's been booked, etc. So, but I was actually looking again this morning on different flight options, and there are lots, and I have the cash if I really need to be able to buy another flight and hope I get refunded. So, I was looking at options of like stopping off in Istanbul. And
I always wanted to go there.
I've been there, but only in the airport.
Yeah.
And in Finland, it was Finnair. Don't know if they stopped in Finland, and Qatar Airways as well, things like that. So there's definitely options. I'm sure I'll find a way of getting back.
So you're flying back to the UK?
I am, yes. And I'm going.
How long are you spending there?
2 weeks. So I'm back on the 3rd, back into Hong Kong on the 3rd of Jan, and then quarantine for 3 weeks. So the Christmas
in a hotel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I shall be enjoying my Christmas break with loved ones, friends, family. It's going to be good.
Have you got an agenda for the 2 weeks?
I have a loose itinerary, yeah, so I'm going to be in...
Give us a 1 minute rundown.
Southampton for 2 days, then to spend time with my girlfriend and with my sister who is heavily pregnant. She's actually due in 2 days.
Wow.
Yes, she'll be popping out her young boy.
Nice.
So hopefully get to see him, and so I'll spend a couple of days there. Then we go to my mum's and see her for a day in Wiltshire, and then going to my dad Christmas Eve in Dorset, spending until Boxing Day there. Probably going back to my mum's for a day, and then going to do with Kiara some sightseeing in Bath, which is near where I grew up, then London, and then to my friend's farm in Dorset for a couple of days, then back to Southampton to see my uni mates come to mine, and we'll have a big New Year's bash, and then a couple of days of downtime, maybe go borrow my sister's camper van and take that out onto the coast somewhere on the south, and then fly back.
So
pretty hectic itinerary.
So it sounds like you've got a pretty jam-packed itinerary.
I do.
Catching up with friends and family, having a bit of adventure, mainly what's on order for you. Of course, then you've got 3 weeks locked in a hotel room.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about that in a little bit. What are your thoughts, kind of thinking about this break, which is going to look very different to what you've been doing for the last, how long have you been there for now? Is it 9 months?
I came out of quarantine in April.
Yeah,
so
7 months.
7, 8 months.
7, 8 months. I mean, like, what are your objectives for this holiday? Like, at the end of your holiday, when you return back to Hong Kong and you're sat in your quarantine hotel room, how are you going to know whether or not it's been a successful break?
Well, I think that actually, I feel like it will be successful regardless, just by getting home and see, like I have no real expectations in terms of what I want to achieve, other than to spend time with my friends, family, my girlfriend. That's the goal for going back.
Quality time with friends and family.
Yeah, and I will have that. I have very good relationships with all the people I'm going to be spending time with, like very close. So.
How are you going to define what the time you spend with your friends and family was quality time?
Just by being present, by actually taking time to sit down with them. Not necessarily, you don't have to do lots of activities, but like being able to just enjoy a meal with my sister and her husband, and being able to sit down with my dad and have a glass of wine, or be able to go on a walk with my mum, or take Kiara around London, or whatever it is. Those things that I don't need to be doing anything. But I will be doing some things. But it's more just like spending time with that person and being engaged with them while I'm doing it. Like I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to be thinking about and worrying about what's coming up in the future. I'm just going to be focusing on that moment that I'm with them, doing, like, being thankful that I've had the opportunity to be able to go back, because for the last couple of weeks I've been tossing and turning about whether or not I'm actually going to be able to go. So when I do get there, there'll be a big sense of relief that I've made it there, and then there'll be a little bit of me that'll be stressing out about whether I'm actually going to be able to get back. But yeah, cross that bridge when it comes in.
Yeah.
So yeah, so essentially, to cut to long story short, being present with the people that I'm spending time with, and kind of pinching myself and being like, this is having gratitude that I'm there at that time with those people that I love that I haven't seen for a year. So yeah.
Do you think that's a very different outlook to what you define as success with holiday to perhaps what holidays in the past might have looked like?
Yeah, for sure. I'm still very much like relationship orientated and like people orientated. So that would still be the case. I've always had that habit of, if I've gone on for a meal out with someone, to put the phones down in the table, and like engage in conversation with that person. Like, that's something that I've done for a long time. So I feel like I've kind of have been relatively present in general when I'm spending time with people, but even more so now than before. Maybe I'd be thinking about, we need to do more things. And probably things like, I need to make sure I'm posting on my Instagram so I show people just how much of a good time I'm having. Look, I'm on my holiday, this is how much fun I'm having, this is how great my life is. When actually it's a lot less. I don't need to have that gratification or that image of this is me having a good time, look everyone. I'll just be having a good time doing what I'm doing there without seeking validation from other people. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of areas of my life which we've talked about me seeking validation from other people, but with something like that, don't feel like I need it at all. I'm very content in being able to share the moment with whoever I'm sharing with, or those people that I listed out.
And I think you're about to spend time with real loved ones, family members, like your other half, people also you haven't seen in a long time. So I think probably even more the reason for you to be even more present and not feel the need to have to prove it to anyone else, because the most important people you're actually with.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about training, Patrick? You haven't talked about training at all.
Yeah. So I do really hoping that I get in lots of training. I think something I've taken for granted is having the time every day, if I wanted to be able to train. And that's something that I kind of took for granted, have taken for granted in the few months that I've been here, whereas that's something that I kind of wished I had again in the past, when I've been in other working environments that haven't been working in a gym, where you have to find time to be able to go and train, or you've got to potentially cancel plans within your evening or within your morning to be able to then go and put time aside to train. Whereas I've got my 10:15 to 12 or 1 o'clock slot. I can spend as much time doing the training that I want. There's no distractions. I can get as much volume or as little volume as I want in. So then I hope that I'm able to have the ability to put that time aside, to be able to continue that training on. So yeah, obviously I'm going to be out and about a lot. There are going to be things like,
you're moving around a lot as well.
24th, 25th, 26th. They'll be very difficult to get training in, but something that me and my sister have done for a long time is always do a Christmas morning workout, which has always absolutely fucked us. Like, I remember one Christmas morning, we attached pulleys to her car, and we're doing car drags up and down the road, like really heavy sled drags, and I was chundering in the bush in Christmas morning, like pre-smoked salmon, scrambled eggs, just like, like absolutely brutal. I remember doing another Christmas, like I had my kettlebells, we took them out to a field where my dad lived, and we basically just did like a 400-meter run, 30 kettlebell swings for half an hour or something. We were just like, let's see. And there was another Christmas where I wanted to do 1,000 burpees for time in the morning, and my sister talked me out, and she was like, you're not, because I have historically always done all the cooking on Christmas Day. like absolutely everything from scratch. And it takes me probably about 4 or 5 hours to get it all done. And she was like, if you do 1,000 burpees in the morning, you're not going to be able to do it. And we're relying on you to get that food done, plated up, ready to go. So if you do 1,000 burpees, all right, fine. I did part of me wants to do that one day. I won't be able to do it this year because my wrist is still on food. But yeah, so I'll definitely get a nasty Christmas Day training in, or a big run or something like that. But in general, what I want to do is make sure I'm getting into a Globo gym, like Pure Gym back in the UK. Lots of machines. I'm actually really looking forward to implementing some of the knowledge that we've been gaining in the last, month, 2 months. I mean, you and I and Liam probably have been geeking out on the N1 stuff and the bodybuilding, biomechanics stuff a little bit before we started doing it in PD, but then we're kind of cementing everything with moment arms, resistance profile, strength profile. So, and that's what we were learning about again this morning, talking about application of exercises. So I'm just looking forward to going into a completely different environment and training with some machines that I haven't used maybe for like 2, 3, 4 years, and being like, okay, where is this exercise most challenging? What muscle group am I trying to work in this position? Or what can I pair with this, which is a machine nearby that I can superset with to really exhaust this muscle or that muscle and stuff like that. So it'll be cool, as it is always going into a new gym. It's like all the toys. Yeah, it is. But like we talked about on the couple of episodes before, when you took your time off, I'll definitely feel that anxiety when you go into a Pure Gym and everyone's kind of like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Or it's this new blood doing in our territory. Yeah, they'll be like, he's not usually here at this time. Yeah. It's like that so you probably haven't experienced this, but when you go to the Globo gyms at the same time every morning, there's the same stragglers there as well. And you're kind of like, you don't want to have a conversation with them because you'll look too keen. So it's kind of like, all right, you done with that? Yeah, cool. What do you say? Just trying to be trying to tense and be macho. And yeah, you done with the barbell? Yeah, lovely. So kind of looking forward to that.
Are you going to be creating a structure for yourself? Are you going to try create some training splits?
Yeah.
What you want to hit, or are you just going to go into a gym and freestyle?
I'll definitely, it'll be as simple as probably upper lower, something like that. But it will definitely be bodybuilding related. Because
lower body sessions on a boozy, busy holiday are horrible.
Oh yeah, tough.
The body's already a bit depleted, sleep's probably compromised, you've probably got some dregs of alcohol from the last 1 to 2 days, and then you put yourself through a massive lower body session.
I'll be like Mike Israel, chundering into a bin in a Globo gym with everyone else around him.
Yeah, just do calves.
I can't wait for a calf machine.
You know what? When I went and joined Go24 at a Globo gym for my week off, I was like, I actually really wanted a calf machine, because there's one thing we definitely don't have here. We don't have any other calf machine options.
Yeah. So we were talking about this earlier today. I was geeking out about, we were talking about using a Smith machine. I was thinking about doing some heel elevated Smith machine hack squats basically. Just an aggressive quad bias. No hip or minimal hip flexion, torso dropping straight down, knee really far over the toe. I'll probably have to get 2 20 kg plates to prop my heel up to get enough ankle flexibility. But I was thinking, I said to you when we were sunbathing, I was like, me 2 years ago would see myself, future me going into that gym now, and saw me on the Smith machine doing aggressive knee over toe cyclist squats, I'd be like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Variation.
Clearly he doesn't have a clue about how to squat.
Exactly.
That's why he's on the Smith press.
Yeah, it was variation for variation's sake. What a gimp. And there I am grinding through a set of 3 RM back squats, this is great for my quads and my spine. I can't wait to just play around with some stuff. Have some fun with it.
Are you going to go in with the goal of actually kind of deloading your body a little bit, or would you want to just put yourself in the bin every time you go and have a training session?
Well, I'd like to elicit some nutrient partitioning. So make sure that those mince pies post-workout are going straight into the quads.
Straight into the quads and the glutes and that.
Yeah, if only it were that easy.
Nice.
But yeah, so no, I'll definitely be training relatively hard. Like at the moment, I'm deloading because I had done 8 weeks progressively overloading, a lot of leg work, which I think I said in the last podcast. Yeah, and I'm still feeling a bit like my back's feeling a bit achy today. And my knee, not a normal pain, I think I twisted it a little bit the other day, and it's feeling a bit sort of like pain on the inside of it. So that's why I didn't do any lower body today either. So I'm going to keep deloading for the rest of the week, to be honest. And then I'll have 1 week of probably just messing around, not doing the same stuff that I have been doing for the last 8 weeks, and just kind of play around with it. I had a lot of fun today not doing structure because I was like, oh, I'm going to do uppers today. I was just kind of like playing around with like anterior, posterior delt supersets, just like mixing up the moment arms of where the band's positioned, and like trying different angles on when I was doing parallel push-ups, changing the angle that I was doing my banded pec flies, stuff like that. So I'll do that next week, just like what can I do to like change this exercise up, make it a little bit harder, or do this or do that. So yeah, have a bit of fun with it. And I'll be doing the same thing when I go back, and it'll just be like, let's try that machine with this and try that with that. They're like, oh, that worked, maybe I'll repeat that in a couple of days, but go up a couple of levels, or like pair that with that next time. So there'll be a little bit of structure, but not much. Also looking forward to training with Cage. Didn't really ever train with her while she was here. She was always in the corner snatching, and I was in the corner bodybuilding.
Screaming at her while she snatched.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, no, that'd be good.
Nice.
I'll do some conditioning as well, mainly just to feel good. Like, as I've talked on this podcast, and as you know, I love monostructural conditioning. Like, I love it. Like, just doing like 30 seconds off, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or just doing some like assault bike double under burpees. Yeah, just love it. Like, it feels so good. Yeah. I love getting a sweat on like that. So probably end up having like 3-hour gym sessions every morning. Yeah, that's nice. Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's my training. Do you feel like when you're looking back on the training that you didn't do you feel
on my last break?
Yeah, do you regret it a little bit, or do you think it was the right for you to deload?
That was definitely the right call to deload. I had good intentions. The intentions were to actually kind of deload my body, but deload by playing around in a Globo gym, not taking anything, not pushing anything too hard, not going to failure with anything, but just experimenting with different machines, doing something different to what I normally do was all I really wanted to do. But just my body just was telling me otherwise. My body just didn't want to do it, and I adhered to those signals, and it was definitely the right thing to do. Kind of thinking about what I want to do this holiday. So I'm taking a few days off just before Christmas. I think I'm taking 3 days off before Christmas, and then we've got a long weekend. And then I'm going to take a few days off just before New Year's. So I kind of have like 2 broken work weeks. But my intention is, what I've learned from my last break when we talked about the podcast, was I don't want to go into my holidays like feeling fatigued, like I need a deload. So I'm actually going to deload next week. The Live Perform Compete program is actually going to be deloading a little bit. I'm going to take that quite seriously. Even though I don't necessarily feel like I need it right now, I do know what I have coming up in the Christmas break is there's more alcohol than normal. I've got quite a few kind of social engagements planned already with friends and family where I know there'll be booze. I know I'll probably be overeating quite a few days. I know my sleep schedule will probably be out because of the social engagements. I'll probably be staying up a little bit later, probably getting less sleep and less poor quality sleep relative to what I normally get, because I'll just be out of routine a little bit.
More poor quality sleep.
More poor quality sleep, yeah, because my night times I know just going to probably be, bedtime's going to be a little bit later.
Alcohol as well.
And alcohol, yeah, exactly. And so because of all those things, I know that my body's probably not going to be primed to be pushing hard with training. I still want to move. I'm actually thinking about joining a Globo gym and just kind of doing a drop-in pass for a day and going and playing around with some machines just for a bit of fun. But I definitely want to come back from this holiday break feeling energized and ready to tear into the new year. And that's just not with my own training, it's with work, it's with everything really. I want to feel like renewed, rejuvenated, ready to take on 2022. Not that I don't feel that now, but I came out of that last break feeling worse than when I went into it, just because I smashed myself too much before the break, and I just don't want to do that again. So I think for my training, it's going to be very self-regulated. I'll listen to my body. Things that I know I need to be better at, and I'm generally better at this now. It's like if I have a few drinks or I don't have a great night's sleep, I'm feeling lethargic and tired in the morning, then my training that day might be get out on the water, go for a paddleboard, go for a little walk in nature, do some stretching and movement at home. I'm not going to force myself to go to a gym and get a sweat on or get a pump on as a means of punishing myself for eating a bit too much or drinking a bit too much the night before. And I know, thinking back to probably me 5 years ago, that's 100% the outlook I would have taken. Like, you know, really like work up, like earn myself the calories. So basically like do a really hard session knowing that tomorrow is going to be maybe an overeating, over drinking day. And if I do have an overeating, over drinking day, make sure I burn off those calories the following day. But you know, now I understand the concept of stress and fatigue. That all that's doing, by doing that really hard session before a boozy or big overeating session, more booze I think, I just know that recovery will be compromised. If I'm going to have drinks after a hard workout, I'm not going to recover fully. I'm going to sleep poorly, and therefore, you know, I'm just going to set back the time I'm going to push on the time it's going to take for me to feel good again. And conversely to that, you know, if I have a big night out or I have a few drinks or I have a poor night's sleep, then going and do a hard session, my body's not going to be again in an optimal state to push. So again, I'm just going to push back my recovery time, the time it's going to take me to feel optimal again. And so, yeah, just going to kind of take it day by day. I'm not going to have too much structure this time. I'm going to really prioritize headspace. What I mean by that is just being a bit more mindful, doing a little bit less, going to be a lot less busy. Not going to create so much of an agenda. I do want to go camping for one night. That's pretty much the only thing I have on my agenda other than catching up with friends and family.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's nice to hear that you've got sounds like you've got a pretty structured plan. And I know you had a structured plan before going into the last break, and it didn't really go off as you expected. But yeah, I think because you've had it recently, you've kind of already learned from the mistakes that you've made, and like you said, having that deload will allow you to kind of accelerate into the rest as opposed to feeling like you need it. For me, I actually don't feel like I need the rest that much. Like I'm not feeling burnt out. Like I'm pretty comfortable with my schedule and my work schedule how it is now. Like I'm happy with the amount of clients I've got, with the amount I'm working, the hours I'm working. Maybe one or two things could change here or there, but in general I feel really good. And I'm not waking up in the morning and be like, oh, I feel a bit flat or whatever. I feel great.
Feel good, yeah.
Obviously I'm really excited to go back, but I don't feel like I need the break, but I just want the break to be able to see people. But just going off on that point of training, I'm definitely a lot smarter and a lot better at auto-regulating my own training than I was. I'm still crap compared to like you or Liam, who are like the kings of over-regulating. Yeah. And I'm more like in the park, similar to Ant, where it's kind of like, I'll just trek through it, see what happens. But so yeah, no, I do really enjoy hitting the gym, not like mega hard, but like get a good pump in or like get a good sweat on, and you feel, you're like, yeah, I'll have that. I'll have a couple of extra potatoes, and like, you know, the t-shirt's feeling tight, like you're feeling like pretty beefy because you just hit four sets of 10 on the bench. You know, like feel good, as opposed to like, oh, I'm not going to do anything, and then you feel like a dweeb. So obviously I'll pay attention to, you know, when I've had a heavy amount of drinking. And maybe do, you know, like lighter, you know, sets of 15s and 20s, which is what I've been doing this week. And you know, but just by doing that, I'm still hitting both sides of that, getting some training in, getting the blood moving, getting a pump on, not going backwards in any way, but at the same time not creating loads of stress to the point where it's going to be difficult for me to then train in 2 days' time because I've absolutely beasted myself when I've been home. So yeah.
Yeah, something I'm going to think about is understanding adaptation and the body's ability to hold on to certain facets of fitness. Is I definitely want over the 2 weeks to get at least at least 2 strength-based sessions in. Now, so that means like I want to do heavier, well, I want to get at least, let's say, a heavy squat in over the 2 weeks, a heavy squatting session, and I want to get probably a heavy hinging session in, some form of heavy pulling, heavy pushing session in, just once over the 2 weeks, enough to know that I'm maintaining not even just from an analytic standpoint, but just, you know, maintaining the tolerance to heavy loads. So sometimes find that if I step away from heavy work for too long, like a 2-week break, for example, or 2.5 weeks, it's not so much I've gotten weaker, but just that heavy loads feel extraordinarily heavy when you come back to it.
Oh, it's the worst. When a 100 kg back squat feels like the world, you're like, oh god.
Yeah. Whereas I know if I can just give myself a little touch of something heavy-ish, not necessarily trying to go heavier than I was the week before or the month before, but just taking my joints and my tissues and my nervous system through that, I know will serve me well when I come back into January and essentially start preparing for the CrossFit Open for 2022. I know that will be a good thing to have done.
I think that's the same with conditioning as well.
Yeah.
Like getting out of breath a decent amount. Like, don't need to go like, you know, don't need to be at maximum heart rate or like 95%, but getting up, you know, like not just keeping it at a walk, you know, getting out of breath like makes a big difference in how you feel, you know. And you know, when you come back to that normal training session versus when you've done nothing and you know you hold that pace on the rower that you know you're usually comfortable holding, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it feels very fast.
I definitely find that I can definitely step away from conditioning for longer, come back to it and not feel like I've lost much.
Yeah.
But I can't step away from strength as long, and that's just kind of me understanding who I am and
Genetically, I think you and I are similar in that.
yeah, we're much more enduring than we are strong and powerful.
Yeah.
Whereas you have someone like Alex Younger, who is innately very strong and very powerful. He can step away from heavy back squatting for 3-4 months and still come in and squat 90% of an all-time best. Like he just holds on to power and strength so well, and he probably he loses touch with conditioning and breathing work much faster. So I think if you're someone listening thinking about, okay, well, you're going to have less opportunities to train now, but you don't want to completely go off structure and you want to come into January feeling like you haven't necessarily gone backwards. Understand, you know, review your history, where do you naturally hold on to things better? Is it more on the endurance end of things, or is it more the strength power things? And make sure you just kind of give yourself a touch of that over the holiday period. Would probably set you up for success as you come back into it.
Yeah, I think also thinking about what your priorities have been in terms of training. If you've been going through a heavy strength block for the last 8 weeks, and then you're going to have 2 weeks off of training, you need to think about, like you said, you know, I need to prioritize those sessions, you know, and think intelligently about where you're going to put them in, like not when you're hung the next day or after you've eaten way too much chocolate. Like think about the day when, you know, you've got a little bit more time to be able to warm up.
You slept better.
Exactly, like all those things. Or likewise, if you're talking like the other alternative where you feel like you've been going through an endurance block, or you feel like you need to be getting more conditioning in, again, think about when you can prioritize those sessions in with your week, and then you can be a little bit more relaxed about where you're fitting the other things that would be beneficial for you to do, but not as much of a priority.
Yeah, for sure. I think something that I've been speaking to a few of my clients about regarding the holiday season is a lot of them are going to have some time off. A lot of them have really busy work schedules or sporting schedules or training schedules leading up to Christmas, and they have suddenly a 1 to 2 week break. And the first thing that most hard charging athletes are going to ask for is more training. Hey, like I've got less time, less work, less stress, can we up the training volume, training frequency? And actually in pretty much all cases, I've actually said no. Like, let's use this as a unique opportunity to actually let your body heal, not just your body, but your mind as well. Your mind and body heal from, you know, the overloaded stress and stimulus from the last few months, and come back into January, and that's where we can crush it. And I think a lot of people probably will be having that same mindset, you know, how can I use this period of time where I have more time to do more? And all that's going to happen is you're going to come out of it needing the deload, when actually that's when you want to be cracking on and pushing through January. I think for anyone as well listening to this who are maybe doing the CrossFit Open or are a CrossFit athlete or want to be a part of the CrossFit season somehow, remember you're about to, if you're following a structured program, embark on a pretty tough 1 to 2 months of training as you prepare for these competitions. The last thing you want to do, and I've made this mistake many years in the past, is come out of this holiday season break feeling fatigued, lethargic, tired, joints are sore because you haven't looked after yourself, and then essentially getting into a training program which is going to be increasingly getting more intense with more volume over the next couple of months, and you're just going to probably end up getting injured and broken at some point. And that's actually happened to me. Over the 8 years I've done the Open, probably half of those years, I've gone into the CrossFit Open running in a compromised state because of how I treated myself in the holiday season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same thing for me. You've gone in the holiday season being like, okay, I can do double days now.
Yeah.
Or now, I've thought like, well, extra food mean more weight. So, just before going to a massive eating festival just afterwards, I'm like, all right, yeah, now's the day when I'm feeling 2 kilos heavier, go for that 10 iron back squat and really push the numbers.
Yeah.
And like, you're sitting down on the sofa on Christmas Day, you try and get up off the sofa, you're like, oh God, my knees. I mean, I feel like that.
I was going to say that's like most days, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
But I do think for those listening like this, that you obviously need some context towards this. If you're someone who hasn't done much at all leading into this Christmas break, then maybe this is a great opportunity for you to actually do a little bit more. If you're someone like us, or like most of the world, who's actually had a pretty stressful run into this Christmas break, maybe it's much better for you to actually do less, take time for yourself, let your body heal, come back into the post-holiday season break, ready to take over the world.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. Well, Paddy, listen, we could also talk about quarantine, but we're going to talk about that when you're actually in quarantine. I will be dropping off a microphone in your hotel, and we'll be jumping on some Zoom calls and talking about your experience and how that's all going. So we will save that conversation for later.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't quite the last episode of 2021, but if you are embarking on your holiday season now, then you have a bloody great time with friends, family and loved ones. And remember, feedback and anything you have for us, we'd love to hear from you. And yeah,
I concur with that message. Merry Christmas, and if we don't speak to you or you don't hear from us before then, a Happy New Year. Goodbye. Nice, dude. Yeah, that was good. Nice casual with some pearls of wisdom in there.
Yeah, it was good. I think it was nice to finish with some kind of takeaways, kind of hear our stories, and then here's a couple of things to think about.
Yeah.
Without getting to just saying the cliche shit like portion up your plate, listen to your body. Just
Okay. Intro. Me.
Yeah.
Okay. What did we talk about?
What did we talk about to start?
We talked about.
I was going to catch up.
We talked about the new process.
Plan for the process podcast. Future plans for the process podcast. And then we talked about
Plans for the holiday season. Our plans for the holiday season. Regarding training, routines, and activities. What mistakes we've made in the past when taking time off, and something else. Advice.
Yeah.
For going in
Training during holiday break.
Advice for your own training. Boom.
Let's go, Paddy. Fucking crush it, buddy.
See you later. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Process Podcast. You listen to me and Ed talk about our future plans. Future plans. Future plans. Nice, Nate. Alright.
Let's call it.
Let's call that. How's your vagina?
Alright, actually didn't really cut it open too badly today, which is fucking spit as well. That's yours.
That's huge. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Process Podcast. Ed and I discussed our future plans for the Process Podcast. We talked about our plans for the holiday season, what they look like with regarding training, routines and activities. We talked about what mistakes we've made in the past when taking time off going into holiday seasons, and then we talked about advice for your own training going into the break. Hope you guys enjoy. Yeah.
Sounded like someone was fucking trying to hammer down the bar.
Yeah, I don't know if they were like drilling the new stuff.
Oh, they were fixing it. I thought actually someone was locked. All I kept on thinking was Holly's in there and she's locked.